this is such a perfect segue from vulnerability to ego alignment into transparency, because you're spot on. I mean, with ego, there is a desire, naturally. I know I struggled with this myself, when wanting to project being something else and therefore not being transparent because I didn't want to open the door to the realization, not only to those around you, but actually to even myself, that I was not that which I presented myself as. And so, yeah, I mean, it was never, and I feel like many people will relate to this, it's not nefarious. It's not like, oh, I'm attempting to con these people or anything from that standpoint. But when we have such a disconnect from who we are, and we're taught that everything around us should determine who we are, it's no wonder we fall in that trap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and we hear fake it till you make it all the time, and there is some level of truth to that.
Yeah.
You see what you desire to be, and so you emulate those behaviors, but that doesn't mean that you're there already.
Exactly.
So then if you're transparent about that, then does that keep you from becoming who you desire to be? So there's like that question that comes up, and I know it comes up a lot in coaching. It's like, okay, but if I'm not there yet and I pretend to be there, am I being inauthentic? And so what is that line between that fake it till you make it kind of thing that we do versus being honest and transparent about, okay, but I'm not there yet? And I think it's worth diving into that a little bit, because there is that middle ground where we do have to be clear about where we are, but also clear about where we're going and the little steps that we're taking all the way there. And part of that is embodying what you desire to be, but also understanding that, okay, I have to take steps in order to get to that point. What do those steps look like? And breaking it down into those smaller steps so it doesn't feel overwhelming.
Right.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense. And I feel like what also feels overwhelming by it is because transparency in conversation or in context tends to be something where it's almost a way to get out of something negative, or it may highlight something negative. And those are, those kind of thoughts, whether it's guilt or shame or fear, those are lower vibrational frequencies, which make us feel heavy. But the goal of transparency is to be light. I mean, literally transparent, you see through, right?
Yeah.
So it's meant to be light. And so I feel like one of the ways that we could reframe the whole understanding of transparency is not to unveil something that is wrong with someone, or something that is a negative, or something that someone should be guilty or shameful about, but transform it into a catalyst for self-love.
Yeah.
That really should be the focus. Okay, well, I'm choosing to be transparent because I love myself. And the more that I dive into this, as you're saying, each little step at a time, I'm choosing to love who I am at a deeper and deeper level.
Yes. And in many ways, shifting the perception of right and wrong. Right? That for me was a huge part of this, and being willing to be transparent. We often, it's like, for some reason, in this quick fix approach that we seem to have in today's society, everything happens so fast. And so when things don't happen fast for us, we somehow feel like, oh, but it should be happening so much faster. And then we get to a point where we get disappointed and we get frustrated, where this transparency is transformative in many ways, because each time we are transparent with ourselves about where we are and the growth that we have, we begin to accept the fact that this isn't instant, that we didn't get to places in our life overnight. It was kind of a journey for us to get there, and we're not going to shift overnight. It's going to take us a little while to get there. And so by being transparent with ourselves, then we start to break these habits that have been formed from the outside too. And that was very helpful for me, because I had learned for a long time that I needed to do certain things or be a certain way. They never felt right for me, but they felt like necessary items or steps to fit in around me. And so I had to start asking myself, when we go back to that authenticity, what is authentic for me? What feels in alignment for me? And am I doing this, being transparent with myself, because it boosts my ego, even though it isn't aligned for me? And it's not my authentic self, but man, people seem to really respond to this. They really like me when I do these things. So man, that feeds my ego a whole lot. And I love that praise, but it really doesn't feel good, like to my authentic self. And so the more I was open and honest with myself, the more I understood I need to take steps to shift that part of myself. And the number one thing I needed to do was stop lying to myself. Being dishonest with myself then led to being dishonest in some ways with the people around me. Not, again, as you said, out of a place of malice or desire to manipulate or hurt. It's just I wasn't being true to myself. So how could I in any way show you the true me if I wasn't even being true to myself? And so that transparency led to tons of transformation. And that's the goal. Like, as a heart leader, we are stepping out into our families, or just in our own lives, but into our families, into our communities, and showing how these attributes can be transformational, but it has to start with us. And that's where I think transparency is very helpful.